Well then, what a fucking episode this was. Like, no joke, guys. I think this was probably one of the greatest One Piece episodes I've seen in a while. Like no, like One Piece has been amazing ever since it hit Wano. Don't get me wrong, but god damn, like this, like just out the bat, I'll say art and animation in this episode was fucking fantastic. Like it was this episode was a visual masterpiece. But yeah, okay, so yeah, where do I even begin with this episode? I guess obviously the big thing to talk about with this episode is that we learn what happened at the Reverie, and moreover, that the Seven Warlord system has been effectively abolished. And despite how quickly everything turned into utter chaos because of this, if you've been following One Piece long enough, you'll know that the warlord system being being abolished was pretty much inevitable, because from Alabasta onwards, one of the most common through lines that's been ever present in the series is how the title of warlord has been abused by the very pirates who are supposed to be allies of the government. So at least in one way or another. So honestly, it was really only a matter of time before the dam burst on that whole before the dam burst on it, and it was effectively like destroyed. And I like how and I like how and one thing I really like is the even though pretty much Fujitori's dream was pretty much realized in this moment, he still recognized this is really only the first step towards truly reforming things. And as he said, sometimes there needs to be a little chaos in order to upset the established order. And he's not wrong. In order to truly make any changes, you sometimes have to be willing, in order to make the risk and say, fuck it. Let's just bring this for a vote and see where it goes. And yeah, I love how both like pretty much Cobra. I like how it kind of came back full circle with Cobra and Rikudold, and how they were one of the deciding factors of the vote in order to abolish the system. Um, I love, but even more than that, I also love how, in typical One Piece fashion, it gave us a glimpse of a lot of different perspectives about the warlord system being abolished. Although abolished, there wasn't just one perspective of happiness. That there were some who were actually kind. There were some who were there was a lot of people who were very happy, but by the warlord system being abolished, and the warlords being pretty much on set to be either captured or killed. But there were also a few outlier people who were who were actually a little concerned, but by this development, because as it was presented in the episode, it is upsetting the established order. So there's going to be a little bit of uncertainty after this is all said and done, just by one of the three balancing powers being basically destroyed. So yeah, it's one of those where you can, even though large, where no matter what your perspective is on the warlord system being destroyed, there is more than one. There's more than one perspective to look at this from. Um, I Although I do have to admit, the Navy are disrespecting my man Mihawk by sending such a small fleet after him. No joke. If you're like, Navy, have you morons not learned anything from Mihawk being a warlord this long? In order to take the man down, you pretty much just pretty much can't send one fleet after him. You need to at least send one admiral and 5 vice admirals at minimum, if you even want to have a chance of fighting him on equal ground. And even then, I don't know if that's enough. But yeah, just the disrespect to my man Mihawk, like major L on that one. On that one, Navy. Just saying. Okay. Above all else, though, one thing everyone needs to keep in mind, keep in the back of their minds with the events, with the craziness of the events in this episode, is that these events we see playing out, for as crazy as they are all happening without Luffy and the others' knowledge. So just knowing that one tiny little detail, and considering that Blackbeard was, what you see in this episode, was going to be making some serious moves, we can naturally assume that by the time Luffy's affairs in the Straw Hats are done in Wano, the Straw Hats are gonna get the shock of a lifetime with everything that's basically happened without them knowing. I like this what we got in this episode was major freaking setup for what the Straw Hats are going to learn after that they're done in Wano, and just the level of how much things escalated in this short amount of in this period of time outside of Wano. It shows that when the Straw Hats do learn of what's happened, it's going to be even like the reaction their reaction is going to be even bigger than anything like that even what happened at like the end of Dressrosa or anything like that. Like it's gonna be like this is gonna be a world escalation kind of reaction, I think. Of course, just by me saying that though, it's also kind of a very grim reminder of just how much of a blind spot Wano has from being closed off from the rest of the world. Because even more because they would never be, because with something like this, it makes you realize that Wano would never be able to anticipate an attack from the outside until it's at their front door, whether it's coming from pirates or the government. But yeah, it's just from not knowing as to what's going on in the outside world. It does leave them a lot more vulnerable than if they were closed off in a lot of ways. So, yeah. Now, having said that, with all these events happening at one time, and more specifically with the reveal that Drake never really left the Navy and that he's been a member of a secret Navy force called SWORD all this time, alongside with a return of everyone's favorite glasses wearing Marine Kobe, it makes me realize that like one thing I never considered before until now is that Kobe and Drake are going to be the two keys, are going to be the two key individuals who are going to who are going to help in Luffy learning what's happened on the outside world. Because even though Kobe is a Marine, the last thing he would ever do is keep a secret from Luffy. It's just a matter of how Luffy will react when he's learned that, well, if you didn't get it, that pretty much Kobe was one of the people who was ordered to capture Hancock. Now, I don't think we all know that Kobe isn't strong enough in order to capture Hancock, I don't think. I think very much, like, let's be real, all the warlords here are going to, I think all the warlords here, more or less, are going to escape. Well, except maybe Buggy. I think he's fucked. But yeah, majority of the warlords, I think are going to escape from this, despite, I think majority of the key players of the warlords are going to escape, more or less. Like, they're not going to get captured. So it's like, even if Hancock isn't captured, like, Kobe still has to tell Luffy as to what he did. And so it's just so it's like, it's just a matter of what Luffy's reaction is going to be when Kobe and Drake tell him this. All this. Also, I didn't pick up on this idea until like a week or two after I read the corresponding chapters that were adapted in this episode. But even though Kobe and Drake are currently the only two known members of SWORD, the fact that this organization seemingly exists in order to monitor the Four Emperors really adds more context as to why Kuzan is supposedly a member of Blackbeard's group. Like, he's like, with Kuzan, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not only a member of SWORD, but he's probably doing the very same thing that Drake's doing with Kaido. So, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we learned that, yeah, that the Kuzan, he himself pretty much never even left the warlord, like the Navy either, and that he's been a member of SWORD all this time. I really wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, honestly, if it isn't already. Like, everything just kind of lines up perfectly. Like there's no way that Kuzan would have joined Blackbeard unless there wasn't a purpose for it. And being part of SWORD is kind of the perfect rationale in order for him doing that, because Blackbeard is a warlord now. He pretty much stole that title from Whitebeard. So yeah, it makes sense that Kuzan would be a part of his crew in order to monitor him. Now, and on that note, I also really appreciate just how much of a chaos. Speaking in terms of all the chaos that's happened, I really appreciate just how much of a chaotic element Morgans has become within the story of One Piece. Because he's just gonna, like, at this point, Morgans is just gonna do his own shit and doesn't give a damn about what he does or who he pisses off. And I kind of freaking love it. Like, of course, just the fact that, like, it's really just, so, it puts a smile on my face in order to see Morgan just pretty much just use the newspaper in order to just disrupt everything. It's beautiful, honestly. It really is. Of course, just the fact that we cut to the government wanting him to cover something up right after Garp talks about Alabasta definitely indicates that something happened with Vivi, and just something had already happened with Vivi, and just the fact that we see a silhouetted picture of Sabo in Morgan's office also indicates he was involved. And well, let's just cut to the chase. It's very heavily implied in this episode that Sabo is dead, but the thing is, I don't think that neither, let's be real here, neither Vivi or Sabo are dead. I don't think they are. I don't think he like when it comes to One Piece, the one major rule is characters never die off screen. That's the one big thing. So yeah, neither of them are dead. But the one thing I am concerned about is what's happened to Cobra, because just the fact that Sabo did potentially help Vivi escape is enough to tell me that something went severely wrong with the assassination attempt, obviously. But the fact that the revolutionaries also lost contact with Sabo tell me he's gone dark as well, but still alive. It's just a matter of, the biggest question though is what happened in between these events, the bigger question. And that's the part that's got me sweating a bit, because even though Cobra hasn't been revealed to be dead yet, I do get the feeling I've got more of a feeling he's dead, like more than Sabo or Vivi, honestly. I just kind of feel that in my bones right now. And yeah, you know what? I'm gonna say it. I really jive with what Garp was laying down in the beginning of this episode, because with how he was discussing the whole nature of the reverie and whatnot, because we might not want to admit it outright, the squabbles that happened at the reverie do in a lot of ways reflect real world, like a lot of real world geopolitical relationships, and how there's always going to be disagreements. That part is inevitability, but at the same time, there's also just so much argument over sometimes what can be the stupidest of shit. Sometimes there's always so much argument over what can sometimes be the stupidest of shit, and when it comes to stuff with the international relationships angle, all you can really do more often than not is take solace in the smallest of victories that happen, which is sad, because I'm more subscribed to the kind of belief that human beings, no matter where you're from, what your worth is, or what your like financial worth is, and all that shit, every human being is really only worth a dime a dozen, and our worth as humans is not worth trying to stand out as being different. Like we're not different. We're just all the same. Okay, that's kind of my view on it. But yeah. Yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. This crazy ass review. Just tell me what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and listen to Crunchyroll. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Craziest fucking episode of One Piece. I'm just saying.